Assalamu alaikum. So, it's a vlog. I haven't done a vlog in a while, and I figured that I would put something up for you because we're now in the month of Rabi'al-Awwal, and the Islamic month of Rabi'al-Awwal. And according to the majority of the scholars of the Sirah, the Prophet Alayhi Wasalam was born in this month. It's disputed as to the exact day. Some say the 12th, 14th, 16th, 17th, 18th, if my memory serves me correctly. Some have said Rabi' al-Thani, some have said Jumad al-Ula, other months, meaning this is because the Quraysh used to change the months in a practice known as nasit, where they would add or subtract months to the calendar to manipulate society and economic advantage and war and all of that. So, while celebrating the birthday of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like one would have an Eid celebration, is known to be a bid'ah. It is an innovation. According to all scholars, even those who celebrate it, recognize that it is not something that is from the Sunnah of the Prophet Alayhi Salatu Wasalam. He did not advocate for it or do it himself, nor did his companions, nor did the earliest generations. Those who allow it, even though they call it a bid'ah, it's because they define bid'ah differently. They allow for something called bid'ah hasana and bid'ah sayyah. That said, we're not getting into that debate. Regardless of whether you celebrate the Mawlid or not, as a specific day, or you just simply gather to send salawat upon the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, it has been a tradition of Muslim scholars to write books about the Prophet Alayhi Wasallam's birth and life and virtues and descriptions, so on and so forth. And so I figured that it would be a good reminder, وَذَكِّرْهُمْ بِأَيَّامِ اللَّهِ, and remind them of the days of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that we remember this great blessing that we have of the birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent guidance through him for us to make it to him subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what can you do in this month then to recall and to commemorate, not celebrate, but to commemorate and remember this blessing? What I do, and what I've taken from some of my teachers, is to simply read the Sirah throughout this month and the next. And so you can start with a very small recollection of the Sirah. And one of the smallest, most succinct and accessible chronologies of both the Sirah and the mission of the Prophet ﷺ is actually found in the book Al-Usul al-Thalatha by Mohammed ibn Abdul Wahhab, in Al-Asl al-Thalith, the third fundamental, knowing your Prophet. He gives the Prophet's lineage, he gives the Prophet's mission, he gives the major events of the Prophet ﷺ's life, and then the purpose that he was sent for, which was to call people to the worship of Allah alone. And so I think that that is something that you can read in one sitting and will be very beneficial for you. Secondly, on Twitter yesterday, I posted a link to Yusuf Islam's Life of the Last Prophet, which is about 50 pages of substantive, there's pictures and stuff in it. It's a really nice book, but there's about 50 pages in there of chronicling the Prophet ﷺ's life. It's written in clear, concise language. He avoids many of the pitfalls that other authors fall into by going into too much detail or things which are irrelevant for the level of reading that you're doing. And it's very good. I read it every year, and I've actually taught it several times in the past. The third book that I want to show you this is a book that's new to my library, and it's written by my friend Sheikh Mustafa Umar from the California Islamic College, and it is called Mohammed sallallahu alaihi wasallam, an authentic overview of his life and mission. and you can find it on Amazon. It is very well written. It is about, I'm going to say it's about 140 pages. Very well written. Goes over the major life events. Is very well referenced. Easy to follow language. And I find it to be very accessible. And this is actually what I'm reading with my family this month, inshallah ta'ala. If you want to go into something which is more advanced than this, then you can read Jonathan Brown's Mohammed from A Short History, printed by Oxford. And that is actually more suitable if you have, say, high school, college age people in your family who are maybe, dealing with Orientalist tropes, or some of the attacks on Islam. He deals with them succinctly, concisely, but deftly in there. So I think that is a good book to read. After that, larger in size, still more detail, would be Safiya Rahman al-Mubarakfuri's book, When the Moon Split. And that is almost like a summary of his Sealed Nectar, Al-Rahiq al-Makhtoum. Both of them are very good. Tariq Ramadan's In the Footsteps of the Prophet is a very good read as well. Some of the language, I don't know if it's because of translation from, I believe it was originally written in French. I don't know, always referring to Allah as the one instead of, just using the word God or Allah. It's unique to the book, let's say that. But it is very nice, and it's very well written. Let's see, what else is there? Ali Salabi's book about the Sirah is out. I haven't read that. Mehdi Rizqallah's book, which I believe is printed in 2 volumes. It's the Sirah of the Prophet from the most authentic sources. It is a voluminous work, and one that is extensively referenced, and is generally great. I mean, I have it in Arabic, and I've kind of overlooked it in English, but that's available in the English language as well. Fathullah Gulen has a book called in Arabic Nur al-Khalid, which I know is translated into the English language. I have not read it in the English language, but when I read it in the Arabic language, it was an accessible work as well. Glubb, G-L-U-B-B, has a work of the Sirah that he wrote. The name is eluding me right now. It's a rather old work. He was a surveyor, cartographer, military expeditionist in the Middle East. He actually went and lived with Bedouins in the desert. I appreciate his work because his having lived in the desert with Bedouins at a very, very simple time in the Middle East reflects on his writing and his style of presenting the realities of how the Prophet and the companions lived, and so you actually feel that the author understood the terrain and the situations that they were going through. So that's a very good book. Mohammed Hegel's book on the Prophet Salaallah, Alayhi Wasalam, which is available, is very popular in Arabic. It is translated into English. It is very good. It's actually one of the first books in Sirah that I ever read in the English language. He downplays some of the more militaristic or military episodes of the Prophet's life, but it is still a well-written book. Let's see, what else is there? I'm drawing a blank right now because I'm driving, and we're coming up on the 10-minute mark. So why don't you drop your suggestions for books on the Sirah in the comments, whether it's on YouTube or on Twitter or on Facebook, and maybe we can compile all of them into a list of accessible books. Mention the book and mention why you feel that it's accessible. I don't necessarily agree with all of the authors or approaches or even information, but I wanted to mention to you some things other than Martin Ling's, which is also, a very well-written book. But yeah, drop the name of the book, why you felt it was accessible, and inshallah ta'ala we'll make a list out of it. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.